Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Karibuni Kakamega for the Great Debaters Contest, and I am your host, Austin Nyumbok.
I am Mariam Bishar. Today we have Makunda Muslim Secondary School going versus Silungai girls, and I don't know how many people in this room have reached voting age, but nevertheless, we need them to debate on whether voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. We'll let them take the stage now. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Wow. Voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. I repeat myself by saying that voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. Salma Juma from Makunda School of Excellence, proposing the motion. The motion simply means that voting as a democratic right and also a political responsibility should be enforced to every citizen in Kenya, as it is done in the Democratic Republic of Congo. On to my first point. Reduce voter bribery. Nowadays, many people want to be bribed so that they can go and vote. For instance, you may hear some of them saying that, I'm not going to vote for this person because he or she didn't give me his money. So you'll find that if we make voting compulsory in Kenya, we'll make such citizens to go and vote without even being bribed. On to my second point. It is a privilege to vote. We have countries such like Lesotho. We have Mozambique, Liberia, Ethiopia, our neighbor country. People are dying to earn the right to vote. Why? Because they are not privileged. So you find, because they are not privileged. And why? This because they exercise a hereditary type of government. Thirdly, it's the people's right to vote. You know that every citizen in Kenya has rights. We have right to life, we have right to expression, and also voting is a democratic right. So if you make it compulsory, it will enable the people to choose those leaders who can satisfy their needs and aspirations. Thank you.
Thank you. Silungai girls, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
It is painful, truly painful, to hear someone supporting this. Voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. What is voting? Is the process by which a person is able to select a leader through a common ballot. Compulsory must be done because of a rule or law. To begin with, the IEBC leader, their chair, Wafula Chebukati, warned politicians against forcing Kenyans to vote. It is illegal. It is against the law. Forcing someone to go and vote and denying someone his or her right because you want that person to vote. It is not democracy. It is blackmail. To add on that, Lee Kun Yew built Singapore like an economic project, and he stated, and I quote, "I have no time for experiments with Western democracy. All I desire is for every Singaporean to have clean water, a clean house, food, and live in dignity." Was he not practicing dictatorship? What is the point of voting for someone while your basic needs are not being taken care of? For instance, take a mother who lives in Turkana. She stays in hunger. She struggles each and every day to feed her children. She walks for so many kilometers in order for her to fetch water. Yet you want her to waste that little time that she has to stand on a queue in order to vote for you. And yet on your table, a meal never misses. Is that fair? There are countries which voting does not exist. A country like China, voting does not exist. And is it not one of the most developed countries? What about us, Kenyans? We think about voting, and where are we? Are we not one of the third world countries? Let us oppose this motion. Are we not the same people buying things from China? Almost everything in Kenya, it is written made in China. Come on, let us oppose this motion. Let us see the better side of our lives, not the bitter side of our lives. Thank you.
Cross-examinations now, beginning with Makunda Muslim. You have 3 minutes.
It's a fact, and it still remains to be a fact, that voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. Maimuna from Makunda, on stage to propose the motion that goes, voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. And it will be supported by the following points. If voting is made compulsory in Kenya, there will be no wastage of resources. As you both understand, in Kenya, before elections are held, in polling stations, there must be returning officers, the clerks, the security officers, and the ballot papers and the ballot boxes, and even the ministry goes to an extent of importing some from outside countries just to help prevent rigging of elections. And so I support the motion that voting should be made compulsory in Kenya. Secondly, if voting is made compulsory in Kenya, it will help the citizens control their representatives. For instance, in Kenya, if a certain official is not performing, he or she will be voted out of the office, and if a certain minister or a certain officer is fulfilling the people's needs, of course, he or she will be given another chance to govern the state. Thirdly, if voting is made compulsory in Kenya, the citizens will be given a chance to participate in their government. In Kenya, the citizens can participate in their government either indirectly or directly. The citizens who are voting for their representatives, they'll participate in their government indirectly, whereby they'll elect or vote for their representatives who will control their state. Won't it be of a great importance if we say that in Kenya, voting should be made compulsory as it is in Australia, where the system of political administration is quite suitable, reliable, and stable. Thank you.
Silungai girls, we'll hear your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes as well.
Omayo joiners from Silungai girls. I'm very shocked to hear that it is a privilege to vote. It will not be a privilege to vote. We are Kenyans. We are suffering. We don't see the significance of making voting compulsory in Kenya. I go there queuing from 6 to 8, voting for a leader who does not care for my needs. Why vote? Why do I vote if I go there to vote for a leader who does not even know me, who does not care for my needs, even who does not know how to use the resources which he has? I think it is very wrong to say that it is a privilege to vote. Mandatory voting won't work in Kenya. Mandatory voting won't work in Kenya because Kenya is a democratic country where your opinion, my opinion counts. Why make mandatory voting in Kenya? And yet, here in Kenya, we use a lot of money in elections. And the money which we use in elections, we don't get it here in Kenya. We go borrow and we don't pay within the stated time. We have to make, for instance, if you have taken a loan from another country and you are supposed to pay in 2 years, we had another more year to pay in 3 years. That won't be good. Why do you want us to vote? And yet, we are making our tribal kings in power. Why do you want to vote? And yet, our basic needs are not catered for. Why? Let's think. mandatory voting would work really in Kenya. Let's think over it. For instance, in 2013, we used 24 billion in voting, and yet the voter turnout was low. That money which we used in voting, it will have been used to improve our infrastructure, to cater for the poor, the orphans, and the weak in the society. Let's think over it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The proposition have been asked if they stated that bribery would reduce if voting were made compulsory, but they've been asked if it would still not increase because people lack basic necessities. And the opposition have been asked to give alternative methods to increase voter turnout if voting is not made compulsory. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
I am so happy to be before you, ready to answer the question. That is Kevin Wesonga Juma from Makunda Muslim. You've asked a question that voting when made compulsory in Kenya leads to, why does we support the motion that says voting should be made compulsory in Kenya, giving a point that it leads to bribery? It is so, because when you see a politician trying to vie for a seat, he will stand always to want to bribe people, to give you some little money so that you can vote for him or her. But if it is made compulsory, a citizen of Kenya who has good elements of a good citizen, that person will go and vote without even being given 1 bob. There's no way you can tell us that it doesn't lead to bribery. Also, to support the motion that goes, voting should be made compulsory in Kenya, I say, when voting is made compulsory in Kenya, it leads to the new political party that gets in authority. It enhances the new way, the new ideas, new ways of improving the life of people and also the development of our country. Whereby you get, for example, this year, a certain party has been in authority, and this time round, the party is competing with another party. So you get that when the party that has not been in position leading the country, when they get a chance, they get in the parliament, in government, knowing that, yes, our competitor had done this, had reached unto here. They had brought us new things. Maybe you can say that they had brought us laptops. So they get there and they bring us more improved laptops, in fact, modern ones. Also, it is a right of a citizen to vote in a political party or a leader in government whom he feels or she feels that this person, when I vote for him and he gets in parliament, he will be there to satisfy Kenyans' want. The citizen says, even if he don't reach in my constitution or my county, you see that citizen says, even if he don't come in my county, but I'm sure wherever he will be or she will be, the person will be improving the life of Kenyans. Juma Kevin, Makunda Muslim.
Silungai girls will hear your response to the questions. You have 3 minutes.
Lillian Chepto from Silungai Girls High School. We are against voting. Give us an alternative. We are not against voting in Kenya. We are against compulsory voting in Kenya. Kenyans, we all believe that Kenya is a democratic state. What does democracy state? It is not a must. It is a person's wish to vote. Why waste a lot of time in voting? Why should we make voting compulsory? And yet there's so much we can do other than voting. Consider the fact that Australia has made voting compulsory. We as Kenyans, we cannot say that we we are rich. We cannot put ourselves in the class of the rich people. Most of the citizens in Kenya don't earn big salaries. We are mostly from poor families. And when we make voting compulsory, it means that there are repercussions of not voting in the country. When we put repercussions for those people who don't vote, what do we expect from our citizens? Majority of Kenyans spend a lot of time queuing to vote. We go overnight voting. The time that we would have spent in voting, we would have used it to earn money. Look at a person who earns 200 a day. How do you expect that person to go and feed the family when he has spent the whole day trying to vote? That does not bring out any sense. Kenyans believe that my tribe must win. So when we make voting compulsory, it's like we are encouraging tribalism in the country. We are encouraging corruption. Voting should not be made compulsory at all. Over the years, people have been voting. What change have we witnessed in our country? Nothing. We have seen our country going down and down. We are not like other countries simply because we are voting. In Kenya, the highest percentage of people we have a high percentage of people who vote because mostly people are youth. They have got IDs, they vote. But what do we see? We don't get what we expect. So we should join hands and come together and say that voting should not be made compulsory. It is a wish from someone's heart. We all know that no one does something good because he has been forced. It is a willing heart that votes well. My fellow Kenyans, I want you to join hands with me and make voting not compulsory in Kenya, and we will see the fruits of not making voting compulsory. Thank you.
Final submissions now. Makunda Muslim, you have 1 minute.
My fellow opponent has just told us that she's shocked. But as for me, I'm twice shocked because it is the first time to hear that voting should not be made compulsory in Kenya. You know, I was once told that every child is born with brain, but the problem is how to use that brain. So I appreciate you, my fellow opponents, but it could be good if you could have told us the best method that we can use to make those people who have the responsibility to vote, but they don't vote. Thank you.
Silungai girls, you also have 1 minute.
Lumbasi Beryl from Silungai Girls. Sometimes there are things we can actually deny, but sometimes they're just things that are just there because they are supposed to be there. I believe that a dream can be changed to reality, but a reality can never, ever be changed to a dream. Making voting compulsory is one of the ways of pulling our country down. We cannot spend a whole time, all the money in Kenya to vote while we gain nothing. We have been voting for so many years. What do we have to show for that? What do we have to stand out that we can show to others that has come because of voting? You know, there are times we try to make some things that can never be there. Forests keep on changing, but the monkeys are always the same. Think about that.
For the proposals, I expect you to tell us how does Kenya do their voting? Is it compulsory or not? You didn't give us that. Then also you are to tell us how should Kenya do or what things should they do to make voting compulsory? I wanted members of the other side to tell us that voting is a democratic right. So if it's a democratic right, what should we do? Should we make it compulsory or not? So you didn't answer the question well, but it was a good presentation. Thank you.
Makunda Muslim, the judges awarded you 61%. Let's give them a round of applause. Your opponent, Silungai Girls, the judges awarded you 64%, making you the winners of this debate.
A big congratulations to the two teams on stage. We'd also like to thank our studio audience and our viewers back home. Keep the conversation going. Hashtag GDC for SDGs. A big shout out to Safaricom Blaze, our sponsors. And I have been Austin Nyumbok.
I am Mariam Bishar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.